In the next set of quizzes, I'm going to be showing you how variables are actually used. All of the programs that you're about to do in part 2 will compile, which means that the computer can understand the code that's been written for them and will be able to create an app. Now, while the programs will be able to run on the phone, there's a chance that they might not do what the intended goal was. This is something known as a logical error. A logical error means that there's something wrong with the logic which you use to write the code. Let's look at a short program and an example scenario, and I'll walk you through how you solve one of these. Okay, so here's an example. Each of these programs will have a goal, which will be written out here. The program itself will be in the green box. Okay, so the goal of this program is to calculate something called sleep debt. Now, how much sleep you need varies a little bit by age, but on average, people need about 8 hours of sleep a night. So what this program is trying to do is calculate the sleep debt in 1 week. The user of the program will go ahead and estimate how much they sleep on an average weekday and how much they sleep on an average weekend day. For this example, we're assuming that the user sleeps 5 hours on a weekday and 9 hours on a weekend. The code for this task is here, in the green box. And the first thing that you're trying to do is read through this code and decide whether or not the goal was accomplished. Then what you're also going to do is go through each of the statements that happened in the code and decide what was actually displayed to the screen. Assume that these method calls here, the things that look like display and have parentheses and something in between them, will display content to the screen. Now, some of these problems will have multiple pieces of content that they need to display, so you might see display 1, display 2, and display 3. Okay, so if you're still watching this video, you're probably wondering how to solve one of these problems. This is the first time you're interacting with multiple variables, the values of which might change a few times during the problem. So let me do the first one with you before I set you loose. Now I'm going to use a technique called hand simulation, and what this technique involves is trying to figure out what the computer is doing, but without just sticking into the computer. For us, really, it's just an organized way to keep track of what's going on with the variables. Okay, now you're going to go line by line, so let me start this with you. In the first line here, I see a declaration of a variable, so I'm going to go ahead and write the variable name, which is weekday. It's also initialized to a value, which is 5. So under weekday, I'm going to put the value 5. This is representing that the variable weekday currently stores 5. Okay, so that was the first line. I'm going to move to the next line. We have a variable called weekend, so I'm going to write that out. And the value of that variable is 9. Okay, so that's looking good. So I'm going to move on to the next line, which is a declaration and instantiation of the variable optimal hours, so I'll do the same thing. Okay, so I'm not going to write the value 7 times 8. I'm actually going to calculate that out because that's what gets stored in optimal hours. So with a little bit of mental math, 7 times 8 is 56. Okay, we have another declaration here. We make a variable called actual hours, so I'll write that out. Well, it's equal to the value of weekday, and this is the current value of weekday. It's not some past value of weekday or a future value of weekday. And we're keeping track of what the current value of weekday is over here. And so I could just look here and see that it's 5. So I should really think about this as the number 5. So it's saying int actual hours is equal to 5. So I'm going to go ahead and write that there. Okay, we'll move on to the next line. So now we're changing actual hours again to be equal to the current value of actual hours plus weekend times 2. So I can look over here. The current value of actual hours is 5. And the current value of weekend is 9. And now I have this little equation here. So I do the multiplication before the addition. So 9 times 2 is 18. And then I add 5. And with a little bit more mental math, 18 plus 5 is 23. Okay, so this all equals 23. And what I have to do is cross out the old value of actual hours and write in the new value of actual hours. Okay, so that's done. Let's move on to the next line. We have int solution, so that's a variable declaration. And it's being set equal to something, but I'm going to write out the word solution first. And solution is equal to optimal hours minus actual hours. So let's go over here. Optimal hours is 56. And actual hours is 23. Now, it's okay to use your calculator. I happened to do that earlier, and I know that 56 minus 23 is 33. Okay, and then we move on to the next and final line, which says display solution. So we can look over here to see what the value of solution is, which is 33. So it is going to display the number 33. So that is how I, or you, or anyone could figure out what this program just did. But the real question is, did it do the right thing? Is there a logical error somewhere in here? Or is somebody who sleeps 5 hours on a weekday and 9 hours on a weekend night going to have 33 hours of sleep debt at the end of the week? And I want to know what you think. Alright, quick side note. Now you've created this Practice Set 2 app, so I'm just going to show you how you could also put the code into the Practice Set 2 app if you wanted to test it out. I really recommend hand simulating first because it's going to give your brain a better grasp about what's going on, but it's also good to be able to put the code into Android Studio and play around with it a bit. So my suggestion is that you copy and paste the code from the problem, which will be provided in the instructor notes, into the onCreate method. That's the first method you'll see in your main activity class here. Okay, just to be very clear, here's what your onCreate looks like before it's modified, and then you can paste over the code, like I've done. Okay, the other thing you're going to need to copy and paste it over, which will make this line of code work, is down here. It is this code. And I've also included this in the instructor notes. The one final thing that you'll need to do is go to your XML and make sure that your text view has an ID display_text_view. And this should exactly match what's shown here. Okay? As long as those two things match when you run this code, you'll get the value printed out to the screen. It's a little bit hard to see, but it says 33 right there. Okay, and with all of that, the knowledge how to hand simulate and some help with getting it up and running on your phone, go ahead and try to figure out, is this program doing what it's supposed to do?